to the team just about the season, about this game?
My message to the team and to our staff was, just gratitude. Just starting with that. Grateful for everything that they poured into this, everything that our staff poured into this, the character with our whole entire group. It was, even through adversity and challenges this season, I'm extremely blessed that I can come into a building and still have joy going into that building, getting after it every day with this group. It's not the season we wanted, and we're all disappointed, and we'll take some time to reflect and see how we can be better. Honestly, how we can improve. But I'm really grateful for the opportunity and grateful to get after it with this group.
And Coach, 369 man games, lost to injury, 46 different starting lineups, 25 different players. Have you ever experienced a season like this where you've had so many injuries?
I haven't. I just said that to our coaching staff that I've never experienced this many games missed because of injuries, this many losses because of injuries, in terms of losing some of our players like we have. And that's the challenging part. That's the adversity that we faced all year.
Well, I know you haven't had a chance to assess the season yet, but do you have like a quick, just thoughts on how you did as a coach this season? How you think you did?
I didn't do great. I have to take full ownership in where we are right now as a team. I don't know how much I'm gonna go into that, but I'll go back and reflect. And I was beating myself up every game, trying to figure out how to get us competing and playing at the highest level that we can play. And we failed. I failed, and I know that failure is a part of success. And so with the failure, this will be time that I take and reflect and see where we can improve.
With so many changes to the lineup, so many guys in and out, are there any particular lessons that you can take from this experience? What it was like going through this, what it took to kind of get through it day in and day out, knowing that you really didn't know who was going to be in, who was out, who was hurt, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just staying steady. Sometimes you're going to get hit with some storms. Sometimes you get hit with things that you can't control. And it's easy to lash out at people and, to start behaving in a way that nobody wants to be around you. But I thought our entire group tried to stay as steady as we could and try to stay on course. And, again, we didn't have the season that we wanted to have, but there's also some positives that we're going to take from this.
And, through the first 3 years of your coaching career, the story was, just that steady progress, the wins increased each year. And then to take a step back like this, obviously a lot of it, is out of your control. But I guess what does the path forward look like after, taking this much of a step back this season?
Well, it's going to take some time, number one, and try to do some self-reflection, and we'll start getting together at some point and talking about what it looks like to move forward, to take a step in the right direction. And it's going to start with us getting healthy as a team and looking at our roster. And just trying to figure out how we can be better moving forward. We don't want to have a season like this again.
And I'll be the first one to bring his name up. Zion and what he was able to do this season. What was kind of your assessment of the season he had? Obviously, the hamstring took away a big chunk of the season, but just seeing what he was able to do once he came back, I guess what's your assessment of what he was able to do this season?
Yeah, that was the positives. Is when we had our guys healthy, a lot of them performed at a high level on the floor, and Zion included. But we just didn't get a chance to see I don't think we saw our full roster one time this season, and that's the disappointing part. But the positives is we saw improvements with Trey. We saw Zion take more steps in the right direction when he was on the floor. We got incredible play from some of our young guys. Missy was fantastic this season. We got a chance to see Antonio Reeves play more. Jose was rock solid for us again. We missed Herb a good portion of the season. He's so key to what we're trying to do on both ends of the floor. So those are the things that we'll start talking about, reflect on, and see how we can move forward in the right direction.
One of the biggest things that's kind of lingered over this team the last couple of years is a question about identity and how is this team going to play? Is that one of the things that you really want to hone in on this offseason and understand, regardless of who's on the roster, what Pelicans basketball really means?
Well, I think if we reevaluate the last 3 seasons before this season, we had an identity, and we were top 10 in defense. And the last about a third season, we were right there at almost top 10 in offense. So we started with our ability to guard, size. We had wings, rebound the ball, and that's I believe we have to move forward with that identity. And those will be some talks that we have this summer and figure out how we can continue to take steps in the right direction again.
I know it's not something where you want to put it on the players who came in, but a big part in the defense, you lost a lot of your top defenders in the offseason. Do you think maybe there was an underestimation of what their loss on the defensive end would be for the total roster?
Well, I think it was a combination of losing some of those key guys and then not having our full roster on the floor. And that's just that. We didn't get a chance to look at everyone healthy at the same time. And then we could have truly assessed and evaluated, are we a good defensive team or not? But those are the areas that I would leave the arena and really, kind of get on myself about, is how to be better defensively, how to rebound the ball, no matter who steps on the floor. And that's the challenge of it. That's the area that we can get better.
When you have this kind of frustrating season, does it put a strain on the relationship with the front office, or is it still strong? Do you feel like going into this offseason, you know where you stand in the organization, or is that something to be determined?
Right now, it's, it wasn't a strain at all. But, when you go through challenging seasons, it's a challenge for everybody, not just me. It's a challenge for everybody that's involved. And for me, I have compassion for all of us. All of us felt that. Everybody tried to do their job and do their part to help this team be better, and we didn't get there this season.
You mentioned obviously some of the tough parts of this year. For you, is there any one moment that stands out, and then who did you turn to maybe in those moments to try to stay level-headed like you mentioned?
No, it's not one moment that stood out more than any other moment. It just collectively as a whole, the challenges started from the first game, even before the first game, training camp, losing Trey, and then DeJounte, and it kind of, steamrolled from there. But I turned to who I always turn to. Number one is God. Just stay, continuously praying about how to lead in the right direction, how to be a servant leader, my family, and I have some mentors that I talk to as you navigate through this.
And to, I guess, his question, do you have any worries or concerns about job security going into this offseason?
There's always pressure in these positions, no matter who you are. I mean, you guys are looking around the league. There's coaches that have won championships, and they're not there anymore. And so that's always going to be there. And that's why we get into this. We get into this for the pressure of it, the competitiveness of it. We know that these jobs are volatile. I haven't had any discussion, any talks yet on what that looks like for me. And so I don't know if worry is the right word to use, but, you always want to go out and do your best because you can be replaced. And so it's one of the reasons that, I continue to approach it with gratitude. Every time you get an opportunity to walk into an NBA building and be a part of the NBA team, it's a true blessing.
And there's always a certain level of pressure that comes from being a coach in the NBA. But does it feel different in the coaching community now with what's happened in Denver recently, what happened in Memphis, just seeing guys, with teams that are that good losing their job this late in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happens with every organization and why they come to those decisions, but I do know there's more. It feels like there's more eyeballs on sports in general. There's more, social media platform allows for more access to fans. We've added the gambling piece to it. And so with all that, yeah, it's definitely been a position that is a vulnerable position. Like you can be replaced, but I think it's even more now with all the eyeballs on the game.
Well, when it comes to evaluating you, how important do you feel like it is for them to not just look at this season, but also look at those 49?
I think that's important. You try to look at the body of work, but I didn't give myself this job, and I had to be chosen for this position, and I'm grateful to be chosen. And like I said, I haven't had any talks, so this is just me answering you guys' questions. But I'm looking forward to the next challenge ahead.
Willie, you talked about how you beat yourself up after a lot of games, right, trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
What did you learn about the season during those times?
Like I said it before, the biggest thing is to try to stay steady and go back to, just continue to teach. Continue to teach, pick a few concepts every day, but be the same that I was if we won, and if we lose, I'm the same. I'm trying to be pretty much the same person every day so our group understands who I am. And yeah, there's some days I'm a little bit more amped up, some days that I might be a little bit more calm, but for the most part, just try to stay steady, try to teach, try to help this group grow, and that's pretty much the recipe.
Do you feel like this season helped you become a better coach?
Absolutely. And I say that, and I'm going to go evaluate and look at myself in the mirror and see where I can be better, but absolutely, I feel like it's going to help me in the long run. Yeah.
To that note, just from when you started as a first-year head coach to now, where do you feel like you've made the most strides and you've grown the most?
I feel like I'm making strides, across the board, but going through some difficult seasons, it definitely makes you stronger. Gives me more opportunities to teach and grow and learn and figure out who I am as I go through this as a coach. But across the board, I feel like I'm not there. I'm striving to be the best coach that I can be, and you got to go through some triumphs, but you also got to go through some difficulties.
And we talk about what Trey was able to accomplish this year.
Yeah.
And just like we said, looking at the path forward now that, BI is no longer part of the organization, DeJounte still has a long rehab road ahead, how important will his continued progression be for the future of this franchise and kind of stepping into a new role going into next season?
It's going to be extremely important. I thought Trey did a really good job of elevating his game in the absence of BI, and there was a lot of guys not on the floor at times, and he'll continue to learn what that role is going to be like, continue to attack it. He's a excellent young man, so there hasn't been any issues with him, receiving coaching and stepping on the floor and giving his best. But we're all proud of some of the steps that he's taken, and I think that's some of the beauty in this is that we didn't have the wins and the results, but we definitely saw some guys take some steps forward.
When you look at the young guys and going into this offseason, particularly the rookie class, in planning for them and their next steps, how much have you already put together for them and what you want them to accomplish in getting prepared for their next season?
Yeah, we've already had some really good talks with the coaching staff, with performance, but we'll have some more and really hone in on what we do want this to look like for those guys as we move forward. And so we're all proud of them, but there's definitely some growth areas that we can attack this summer.
Outside of player changes and things like that are to be determined, is there something that you've already said, we have to do this next season? Obviously, fixing the defense is job number one,
Yeah.
but is there something that you saw during the year and you took mental notes and okay, we've got to do this next season?
Yes, I have, but again, it's so fresh, losing, finishing the season. So I try to be careful in jumping out there, talking about all the things that I'm going to do or change. I don't know yet. We know we have some improvements to make. We know we had some bright spots this season, but I think for me, it's smart to take some time, decompress a bit, continue to talk through it, and then come up with a plan of attack.
A lot of teams that take a jump step forward, right, with their progress, move up in the standings. The teams that really work together in the offseason, but you've got challenges, right, with Trey or DeJounte, all their injuries. So how can this group kind of take that step forward? Because they won't be able to work together like, you know, a full healthy roster can.
Well, there may be some times where we can get our guys together for some mini camp sort of, you know, opportunities. And Trey and Herb will be able to be present. Their presence means a lot to this group. Two guys that kind of started this trajectory of putting together winning seasons. So I agree. Those are key moments for us, and we'll try to have some of those this summer.
There's always like a new trend every season amongst the league. You know, last season I think there's a lot of talk about, you know, the Celtics are taking so many threes and doing all this stuff. This season you're seeing such an increase in double big lineups. Bigs are back, right? You guys experimented with some of these double big lineups. Just, you know, how would you guys rate yourself as an organization, or just like, you know, maybe your staff in terms of like identifying like what's working well in the NBA, and then kind of like shaping your team to match that, or finding the advantages your team might have and maybe forging your own trend or something?
Yeah. I thought we were trending in the right direction. And then this season, you know, call it what you want, injuries, you know, not being able to live up to the results that we wanted as a group. You know, we didn't get there this season, but I thought we were trending in the right direction. So we'll keep looking at it. The NBA is always, it's a revolving door. There's always changes, and we want to make sure that we, number one, again, focus on our identity, but then look at those areas, those concepts, and see what works for us. All right, thank y'all. Appreciate you.